A circle is a set of all points in a plane that are equidistant, which just means the same distance, from a given point called the center. A circle is named by using the center. So for example, this circle would be circle C because the center point is named C. The radius is the distance from the center to a point on the circle. So for example, if I went from the center of the circle here to the outside, this would be considered the radius. Two circles are considered congruent if they share the same radius. The distance across the circle through the center is called the diameter. So the diameter is basically a line that goes from one end of the circle to the other end of the circle, but it has to go through that center point. So your diameter is 2 times r. The reason it's 2 times r is because from the center to the outside here is r, from the center to the outside here is r. So I have 2 r's to give me my diameter. A chord is a segment that has an endpoints on the circle but does not go through the center. For example, here is a segment that has 2 endpoints on the circle but doesn't actually pass to the center. A tangent is a line in the plane of a circle that intersects the circle at exactly one point. So for example, this would be a tangent because it only touches the circle right here. A point of tangency is the point at which the circle and the tangent line intersect. So for example, this would be your point of tangency. A secant is a line that intersects the circle in 2 points. At the bottom you have to label the diagram using the definitions that are listed above. So the first one that we talked about was center. The center point would be right here. This line goes all the way through the circle, so that would be a secant. This line goes from the center to the outside, so this would be considered a radius. However, this line doesn't go through the center, so we're going to call it a chord. This one's kind of hard to see, but it's pointing to the entire line, so that would be a diameter because it does go through the center. This line only touches the circle once, so we call that a tangent. And the point that it touches the circle is called a point of tangency. The circumference of a circle is the distance around the outside. So think about circumference as being basically the perimeter of a circle. Your circumference is going to be c equals pi r squared. So this would be your circumference around the outside of your circle. So if we want to define the circumference for the following circles, this one has a radius of 2. So if I was finding the circumference for this one, it would be c equals pi 2 squared because my radius is 2. So the circumference would be pi 2 squared would be 4. So the circumference would be 4 pi. In example 2, you have a diameter of 9. If you have a diameter of 9, that means that you have a radius, because I need a radius for this one, of 4.5. All you have to do is take 9 and divide it into 2 parts to get 4.5. So to find the circumference of this one, you're going to have pi 4.5 squared. .5 squared would be maybe not. So 4.5 squared would give you 20.25. So the circumference for this circle would be 20.25 pi. The area is the amount of space inside the circle. So for example, what you would be looking at, and this one is inside the circle is your area. To find your area, you're going to do 2 pi r. So to find the area using this circle, you've got a radius of 4. So to plug it in, you'd have 2 pi times 4. Well, 2 times 4 gives you 8, so your area would be 8 pi. In example 4, you've got a diameter of 16, but remember you need a radius, so all you have to do is take your diameter and divide it into 2 parts, which both parts would be 8. So your radius for this one would be 8. To find your area, you would do 2 pi times 8. So your area would be 16 pi. Number 5 says the center of a circle W is located at negative 42.12 lies on this circle. Which point is also located on circle W? So what you need to do is start out by drawing a circle so you can kind of picture what's going on. So you've got your circle. Lord help. Your center is at W, and that center is at the point negative 42. It tells you that the point 1, 2 is on your circle. So the distance from the inside of the circle, from the center to the outside, would be considered your radius. Now, if you could find the distance or the length of your radius, then you would know how far it needed to be from the center to one of these points. So you need to start by finding the length of that radius. Remember that length is another word for distance. So you need to find the distance between these 2 points. Remember that your distance formula that you learned yesterday was square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. So your x's would be negative 4 and 1, your y's 2 and 2. So whenever you plug that in, you would have negative 4 minus 1 squared plus 2 minus 2 squared. Negative 4 minus 1 would give you negative 5 squared, and then 2 minus 2 would just give you 0. So that would be the square root of 25, which would be 5. So what I need to do is find which one of these points is 5 units away from -4, +2. So what I could do is find the distance between each of these points. So if I started with this one, I would have the square root of -7 minus -4 squared plus -1 minus 2 squared. So that would be the square root of -3 squared, because -4 minus a -4, minus a negative will turn to plus a positive. So -7 plus +4 would give you -3. -1 minus 2 would also give you -3. So you would basically have 9 plus 9, which would give you the square root of 18, which is not 5. So this one's out. You can do the same thing for -4, 5. So if you do that, you'd have the square root of -4 minus -4 squared plus 5 minus 2 squared. -4 minus a -4 is going to be -4 plus +4, which would just give you 0. You'd have 5 minus 2 here, which would give you 3. So 3 squared would give you square root of 9, which is not going to give me 5. That would give me 3. On C, you can do -1 minus -4 squared plus -2 minus 2 squared. -1 minus -4 would turn into -1 plus +4, which would give you 3 squared. And -2 minus 2 would give you -4 squared. So you'd have the square root of 3 squared, which would give you 9, plus -4 squared would give you 16. That would be the square root of 25, which indeed would be 5. So C would be our answer.